Do we have a mayor's report?
We do. Bring you up to speed on the retrofitting of the Armory and answer any questions you might have in the neighborhood preservation grant. The Armory. I have been with health inspectors up to 3 times this past week to go through the municipal building, both police and administrative units. I also been through the Armory with RT Environmental and followed their instructions. They gave me orders to do additional asbestos testing. We have shifted from mold to asbestos. So far, where we had the panel drop in the locker room, there was no asbestos detected, 0. They are now inspecting the administrative unit where Rich Hay is, and in the meantime, I haven't obtained, but I have met with a AC HV contractor for mobile units that sit on the wall. They're called wall units. There's a compressor outside, they fit up to 3 units. We need a total of 15 of those units. They're Mitsubishi. They don't require any ducting, they don't require removal of the ceiling. I've also met with the painters today. They do painting and carpet, and I have also met with IT people that will be on the job shortly. They come through Bob Merlo. So we keep putting one foot in front of the other to retrofit the Armory, regardless of what is swirling around us, and I should have prices soon. I do expect, as you heard from Sheriff McDonald, when it comes to cells, gun lockers, and evidence lockers, I don't know where that's going to go. It's very expensive, very complicated, regulated by the Department of Corrections. But I will keep you, informed of what those numbers look like. It's a task. We got a price for files and appliances at $64,000, and we go from there. By next meeting or in between that time, I will give you what quotes I receive, so you can get a handle on how much money we have and how much money it's going to take. Any questions on the Armory, obtaining the quotes, and retrofitting?
Does anyone on the panel? Councilman Lutz?
No.
Councilman Davis?
Not right now, thank you.
Councilwoman?
Yes. So it's not move-in ready, correct?
No, there's a lot of work.
And there's no HVAC in the building? Because we were
No.
told it was move-in ready. It's not move-in ready.
There is no HVAC in this building.
There's no HVAC at all.
Window air conditioners.
Yeah, we've seen them for 20 years. And you don't have any prices yet on anything?
I know
other than
roughly
moving?
what each unit costs. Each wall-mounted
Well,
unit
that's the
costs about
HVAC. Do we
21.
know, do we have a project cost on this?
No, it's coming together in different disciplines. Different disciplines that will only require code inspections, permits from Kevin Duddy, the work, and the permit inspections.
When did we start working on this?
Months ago.
But we don't have prices yet,
No, we do not.
or a timeline.
Or a timeline.
And we don't know where everything's going to go in the building.
We do.
Oh, I thought you just said we don't know where the equipment is going to go.
Well, we do up to retrofitting with paint, carpet, IT, air conditioning. The difficult items, as I explained, and I'll explain it again if I misled you, there are gun lockers with fire suppression, gun lockers, and also cells. There's one option to cells, and that is a bar. If we put a bar in, an officer has to stay with him, and it's about $25,000 a year for OT. Within a week, I should have some prices back.
How long will it take?
It's quick.
What's quick?
It's quick as far as...
We heard quick 2 years ago. What's quick?
What's 2 years ago? Where were you 2 years ago?
Down the street watching. I was actually in the building
Right.
a year and a half ago, looking at the
We
building.
never had an initiative to redo the Armory 2 years ago.
So we're just gonna leave it there.
I don't understand.
I'd rather ask
2 years
honestly.
ago, we were supposed to, well, if this is what I think you're referring to, we have a set of plans for the Army that cost $75,000.
Okay, but we've
That
never,
$75,000 is now waste
okay, but
because you've decided that you want us at Corliss Avenue.
what never happened though was a plan for the rest of the municipal staff. So,
Right, well, we were in Freeman School safe. Safety came first. We wanted to get the police and fire safe.
that's what
They
I wanted
came,
to say.
they were to follow. You passed a $3.2 million bond to move forward. And then the bond was dismissed, and then you went with a 6.2 bond for Corliss Avenue. In June of this month, June of this year, the Armory would have been almost complete,
Fully renovated,
fully renovated.
but we don't know how long it'll take to temporarily get these gentlemen out of
I'll
there.
move as fast as I can, but remember, I'm a mayor. Mayors usually don't go out and get bids for roofs and for painting and for air conditioning. But I do it because it's the right thing to do.
Would you like us to help?
Well, sure, I'll invite anyone to help, but it's a matter of gathering vendors and getting them out and showing the building.
We can do it.
Well, you're welcome. I'll be out there tomorrow.
I'll be in town Friday.
Well, I'll be out there Friday.
I'm good.
Okay. Council Vice President.
Have you taken any of our considerations that were set forth in many emails to you regarding different recommendations that would have move-in ready conditions instead of starting in the hole $64,000 in a place that we're not really sure that's safe, and by your own admission, not even sure whether they can hold prisoners, and by all of our consensus, we know that. I'm going to move the mic closer. You might not be able to hear me the way you're staring at me, so I'll try a little bit louder.
Staring at you because I'm.
You don't have to talk back.
I'm confused.
You're looking at me confused, so I'm going to talk louder because maybe you can't hear me. Have you taken our recommendations? One second, sir. The many recommendations we've given you that would not touch a dollar of the $175,000 of moving costs. Have you taken any of that?
What were they?
Now, this is going back to the Kreskin talk. We're not going down that road. I'm asking
The
you.
what talk?
There we go again. Okay, so there you go, people. Take that for what you want, and then I'll continue asking my questions. The SOA said move out now. What does now mean?
You know what I see this as a setup, Mr. McDonald?
I'm not running.
And if you want to.
I'm not running, and I'm not running again.
Come up to
This
see.
is the most
I don't
Sir,
understand what you're talking
Sir, I was up there on June 29th.
Give me one
That's right.
recommendation, one.
One?
That I can carry
The
out.
Dave Baranski office for $300,000.
That's ridiculous.
Well, you mentioned it at your meeting in front of the court clerk.
As an auxiliary location.
Gentlemen, Mayor, please.
You have no idea what you're
Mayor,
talking
Nobody
about.
has
listen.
any idea.
Relax.
You're the smartest man in the room. I'm sorry, sir.
It's okay.
You should get
Listen, both of you.
You know what I know.
Both of you.
Come on,
Please.
two of
I'm asking you questions.
All right? It's okay, I understand, but I'm trying to,
you. Yeah, I'm with you.
okay? It's
May I
not,
continue?
it's not constructive. I'm gonna ask you not to speak over each other, not to scream at each other. This is an issue that needs to be resolved, and needs to be resolved quickly. So, we're not gonna resolve it quickly by doing this, or pointing back and forth. Proceed.
I had a question. What does now mean to you?
Oh, come on.
That's ridiculous. I'm not playing.
When we got, what does now mean? Mr. Minor, please.
Now is tomorrow morning. Now is the day after. Now is the weekend.
I said to you
Now
in
is
a
Monday.
okay. Now, when we got the SOA email from Lieutenant Matsko, now meant 30 minutes. And I called Council President Fulper. He contacted Lieutenant Matsko in 30 minutes. I contacted him in 40 after respective rank and tier of the President contacting him first. And I have not stopped working and suggestions to get those police out.
Could you provide the suggestions that you have?
They're all in Oprah emails. Oprah emails.
I don't have those suggestions.
Yes, you
I
do.
have one suggestion, I do believe, and it had to do with Journal of Commerce. Doesn't work. Does not work.
For the police officers in the room, the mayor was provided over 10 suggestions at zero cost that would get you out right now. In addition, there was emails, I said that candidate Mark Lutz and Republican candidate Todd Tristigny would get them out within 24 hours given the task. I did say that, and you can Oprah that. That's not a knock on you. That's a compliment on these gentlemen. It's simple. Now means now. I am done with the questions.
Good.
Thank you.
If you have any others,
Mayor,
please call Council President.
Mayor, I do have a question. The Phillipsburg Housing Authority building was provided, I believe, at no cost to the town of Phillipsburg. I did email that to you.
You did?
And to Chief Stettner, and I did get Chief Stettner's response. The Zappa Plastics, the old Zappa Plastic building where Cherry Brook is, there is now a 12,000 fully renovated, 12,000 square feet of space that would have allowed the police department to temporarily move in. We could have used a portion of that money to build out the bar, the jail cells. I'm just curious as to, one, why we chose to go back to the Armory where it's going to cost more taxpayer dollars.
In my opinion and my experience, it was the most practical.
So spending more money at that building was the most practical as opposed to the facilities that were fully renovated and free.
We owned the building. Which buildings were free?
The Phillipsburg Housing Authority building was offered to us for
Right.
free, and I stand corrected on the Zappa Plastics buildings. It was $1 per square foot, which would have come to $12,000.
The Phillipsburg Housing Authority, I thought, was inspected by the chief, and the chief rendered a decision it wouldn't work.
Right, and not to be disrespectful to the chief, but I've asked him multiple times for the state mandates that is continuously brought up. I've received nothing.
I've heard, and you will get them from Mr. Schreck.
Okay.
That Mr. Schreck is in possession of those standards.
So my only other criticism is, and it's not a criticism of you, it's just a question. 2 years ago, you had stated that there was no plan, but I have an email that states from you on November 21st, 2017 at 9:36 p.m. This was the evening that we were newly elected officials in the room with yourself, the previous council, 2 municipal attorneys, Rob Stettner and Rich Hay. Do you remember that?
I don't, but
You don't.
go ahead.
And that was the evening where Josh Davis, Councilman Davis, I apologize, Councilman, had asked Engineer Schreck to, one, continue with the engineering plans to renovate the Armory, right? So we did have a plan, because I saw it that evening 2 years ago. I don't know why it was tabled, by the way. I went through all the minutes to try and find it. It was continuously tabled. Then to continue with the engineering and specifications of the new municipal building, the proposed new municipal building at the Armory site, right? And then to start a new set of engineering plans and specs for the rebuilding of Corliss Avenue. Do you remember that?
I do.
Do you remember Mr. Schreck's response at that point in time?
It could be done, or, I know there was a $40,000 request to examine that building.
So he had said, please don't lock in the design or development or the cost of item 3 just yet. That was the item 3, was to rebuild the Corliss Avenue building. I indicated that we would work this within the original appropriation. I'm thinking a 3-phase approach to the Corliss building is the most expeditious. Most expeditious meaning the most quick to get completed, correct? But I'm hearing that the Armory is the quickest, when in fact, if we would have had the officers out, and again, I'm not going to criticize former council. I don't know what happened. I don't know why the officers weren't moved. Quite frankly, I'm still trying to figure that out myself. But they should have been moved by now, right? Can we agree at that? Can we agree that they should have
May I
been moved?
respond?
No, please, absolutely.
Council President, we literally looked at every possible facility in the town of Phillipsburg. I drug every administrator, department head, police, fire, OME, to every possible building that may have been used by police and fire and administration. From the Elks, from one end of Main Street to the other, to the Andover School. And not one building was suitable. With attorneys, with engineers, with our professionals. That effort was very, very difficult because we know we needed to move them. And that's the time that Mr. Councilman Lutz said, let's use our own property. Let's not buy property. let's use what we own and save money, and that's when we ended up at the Armory. Mr. Schreck was instructed to do engineering and cost estimates for the Armory. You know the Armory came in high, right, which put a chink in our armor. And then this council passed a $3.2 million bond, which wasn't enough money to meet the low bid vendor for the Armory. And then there was a committee, and then there was a $6.2 million bond.
6.5.
6.5, well, there's only 6.2 because some money has been used somewhere else. But that is pretty much the sequence of events that I have been following. And the other ones that you meant, there's one missing. There was a $40,000 cost estimate for the Corliss building that never really materialized. And if it's there, I don't know where it is.
So, obviously that would be prior to us taking office,
Yeah.
right?
The old council.
Okay.
And so right now, with the urgency from the New Jersey State Department of Health, who's ready to sue us on a daily basis, I need to move this Armory. If you're opposed to the Armory, I need to move to the Armory, pardon me. If you're opposed to it, I need to know now because I'm spending a lot of time with contractors getting prices. If you want me to look other locations, please say so.
Well, so what I want is I want a building that is much quicker than the Armory, right? I got Chief Stetner's email and I understand it, but what I'm hearing is a lot of Armory or bust. That's what I'm hearing. I think at this point in time, we have to take a look at want versus need, right?
Okay.
There may be some temporary setbacks, but they need to be out now. They did ask to be out now. As a matter of fact, there was calls to my home because they wanted to be out now, and I'm still being blamed. And I think we can agree that it's, you had told me, it's not my responsibility to move them, correct? Whose responsibility is it?
It is my responsibility to move. However,
That's all I'm asking.
Council President, I just want to make one statement,
Sure.
please.
Okay.
Let me speak. The council had decided that you're moving back to Corliss Avenue. Everyone's moving back to Corliss.
Right.
So the council took on that responsibility. But when it became the responsibility for the mayor to move them because of safety reasons, it was my
Oh
responsibility.
no, I wanted to move them. As a matter of fact, I had an email to you that made recommendations, and you told me that how could I control it? How could I make how to say anything I didn't have any control over?
So guide me, whose final responsibility is it to move?
The final responsibility is for you to temporarily relocate the police department.
And I need money to do that.
And we have
Will you
allocated-
support me with money to do that?
Sir, we've given you $175,000.
65 is gone and moving files.
So 65 is going already in moving files for the police station.
That's correct.
Okay.
For everyone.
Where are those files now?
They're at the Corliss Municipal Building. They'll be put in the Armory. The
Wait.
plan was to put them in the Armory, stay with me,
Okay.
within cages. Cages for the police, cages for the town clerk, cages for taxation, cages for DPW, cyclone fence cages that are locked, so they're secure.
So how come we couldn't put those cages at the Housing Authority building?
You'd have to ask the chief.
Chief?
About the housing
You
authority.
need security.
Oh, you still need security at the Armory building too.
Where at the housing authority are you speaking of? Because when I toured everything with Mr. Rummerfield, we went to individual rooms in different buildings. I can't put computer lines into five different places throughout town like that, especially the state mandated lines that we need. That's a big hiccup with that. I mean, we could have, like, for example, there's an office down the hall here. We probably could have utilized that rather than had a trailer. In hindsight, we probably could have saved some money there. But what Mr. Rummerfield was offering wasn't anything where we could go in, move, do everything that we need to do to function, where we would be able to remove ourselves from Corliss Avenue.
And if we were to take the 12,000 square foot fully renovated building down to Cherrybrook, would we still be able, we'd be able to do those
I
there?
have to see, honestly, I couldn't.
It's not fully renovated. It's
Oh,
a big
okay.
open space,
Well,
Stand corrected, then that's
gigantic
too
open
much.
space.
all right. So, I
And
mean,
that's all that is.
That's-
we still run into some of the same problems. I need interview rooms, and I'm not even, I mean, you notice on my last few emails, I backed off the prisoner talk, other
Right.
than processing. I have to have state lines come in so that I can fingerprint people so that we can do alco tests, so we can do all that stuff. We have to have a safe place for our guys to operate. So you can't just do it in one, like, for example, Paul offered to, we can't do it there and nobody else is around, you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, Frank, you know, you've been doing law enforcement long enough. You know it's not that easy to go fragmented places.
Well, if you're asking, you said Frank, so now I'm going to reply, I'm going to respond. If Greenwich can do it, and many people, and if you're asking me, I can sit here for the next hour and a half and spell out how we built Kingwood and everything else, and how that worked, how we moved them from Flemington. I will, so please, I'll just let you have your moment, because I'm not going to weigh in on this at all, because you don't want to hear what I have to say. I want to hear.
Council President.
Yes.
A suggestion. Would you do a walkthrough with the Armory?
Absolutely. How much more money do you need and how quick are we talking?
We can, as we go through room from room, I could ask the vendors that have already given or taken their measurements to hurry up with the rust estimate. And if that gives you a better feeling over the overall retrofit, I'd be more than happy to take any council member room to room.
Listen, I'll do whatever it takes to get them out of there, but you have to remember they're asking to be removed now.
Understood, and I have a health department official on my back daily that's threatening large sums of money of fines, and he has my number. So if you wanted to take council through the rooms, we will go through what is necessary for each room. IT, right, we have to get the IT out of work, because OEM cannot be 1 minute out of business. They cannot be without their communication for 1 minute in case there's a fire or hazard. Police cannot be either. I can take you from building to building to show you the IT that exists in the building, show you the paint that we need to do, show you the AC that we need to do, show you the carpeting we need to do, and then get into the more complicated problems of the police department. I think you'd have a better understanding, and we can put some numbers together as we walk and talk, so you know the final numbers.
I don't have a problem with that. I would absolutely.
I think it's a great idea.
I would absolutely do that. I would ask the chief to be present as well, because I would like to. I'm gonna need to know. I'm not a police officer. I don't know what it takes.
I also recommend we bring Kevin Duddy, so there's no obstacles in the way, that what we're doing is not engineering, and it's more so of obtaining permits from the town of Phillipsburg to finish it.
They're going to be in that building
I
for
would bring that.
about a year, according to Stan. So I want to make sure that they're going to be, when the building's ready to go, it's ready to go, and they're going to be comfortable in there for a year.
And also, I'll share this with you, OEM and fire can be moved easier than the police department. Just as long as we have the IT in place, they can move from Corliss to Heckman very quickly. Matter of fact, they're going to be using some of the furniture that's already in the Armory. So that's one down.
I just want to make sure that when I go home tonight, and this is all I'm asking, for every single person here in the room, I keep seeing they want to be moved out now.
I understand. The health inspector is no different.
I keep hearing that we're not moving them, and they keep blaming council, they blame the mayor. But we're asking, I saw the chief's comment to the newspaper, and then I sent an email to the PBA representatives, Officer Kisselbach and Officer Amy, and if you guys are higher than officers, I apologize wholeheartedly for messing up your rank, asking if they were okay with that. I have not heard. I really would like to know from the gentleman of the police department that this is acceptable. Because if it's not acceptable, then we're going to have to go another route, right?
No doubt.
So, are the PBA reps permitted to come up and at least let us know whether are they okay with this plan?
I'm not sure what the plan is.
I don't
We're about right now.
Right now.
The Armory could take, the last time I spoke with the mayor, you said 4 months, right? I'm sorry, Stan Trek, not you.
Right.
Stan Trek, he said it could take 4 months to a year to retrofit.
Stan had told us originally when we were doing everything, 180 days.
Okay.
I think from when we got bids back, I'd say that cautiously. So
I say we invite the PBA involved with us for that walk.
I would absolutely like to do that, because the last thing I want, and I really want this off my plate, I really want them out of the building. And I really want to stop seeing, that I've personally lied to everybody, because I haven't personally lied to anybody. I've inherited this mess just like everybody else. Right? So if the PBA would like to come along, I'd like to bring them along. But I really want to know, for everybody here in the room, that this is an acceptable answer. This is what you're asking us.
Nothing's acceptable.
You're
You're
right.
not doing your job. All around is not acceptable. I'm sick all the time. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And I'm sick and tired of it. All you guys want to do is fight back and forth up there.
It's not true.
It's ridiculous.
He's not the only one that's sick. We got multiple guys sick.
So you need to get out.
They
So
got it.
we're okay with the plan, but it's 2 years, and we're waiting for somebody to get sick and die. And then what? We want it, when we say now, we mean we want you guys to move quickly, work together. The back and forth, I get it, right? You gotta put that aside. We got guys that are sick, multiple guys that are sick now, and that have been sick. And I'll speak just for myself. I have scar tissue on my lungs because of the mold. And it's not just a comp case. I have pulmonologists and allergists telling me that happened to me. But these guys go out there every day, answer their call with pride, put their lives on the line for everybody, without question. With all that going on at that PD, they still put that badge on and respond. So we want you guys to work together quickly, as quick as possible, to make this happen. Our chief had said our recommendations, the best for us to operate and for the town, for response and for everything else is going to be Heckman Street, the Armory. I just beg that you guys work together so that no more guys get sick and that no one, God forbid, dies. Because we have an opportunity to fix this tonight and move forward. My wife wanted to go down here with my kids to talk to you, to get us out. That's not her job. That's your job. That's my PPA SOA job. It's time to put that down and move forward. We will give our lives for the community, but we won't give it for asbestos and for mold. Let's get it together. Let's move forward together as a community, and get our men, and we have Ange, woman, out of that building as quick as possible. Not a year, 2 years. Let's get it done starting tonight, and no more. Put it aside. If you don't like each other, that's fine. But do it for us and our families. That's all I have.
I said we take that walk soon.
I'll do it tomorrow morning.
I have to get one question out, and this is to the mayor. Has statewide management and John Moore been contacted about our workman's comp cases and the asbestos? Yes or no?
Yes, they have.
Because,
60.
right, it's part of our job, and that was extremely heartfelt, and we all understand that if we don't, we're not human. We have a job with a massive liability. And if statewide says to us, because it's been posted about the asbestos, and the workman comp cases keep coming, in my opinion, if it's justified as they should, that statewide management can say, get out now. All of you said now means kind of hurry up. No, when it comes to the state means now. We're protecting you, we're protecting us. And it's not a fight thing. It's not about who wants what. When the state comes breathing down our neck over liabilities and insurance, they may say none of this is covered. Now we got all this, I don't even want to think about not even being covered by insurance. So this is not easy for me or easy for us. It's not. Now means now, and I said it tonight and I'll say it again, because when the phone call comes in, they're going to look at you. They're not going to come to us. I'm protecting you, and we're protecting you, and we're protecting us. I'm not being hard about it. I'm being real. That's what's behind the scenes. legal stuff and stuff to get people covered under insurances that are sick. That's why we need now.
One last thing, Council President. You know that the USDA loan that we have a pre-application for Heckman Street has to be relocated. It's worthless at Heckman right now if you're not going to go through with the major renovation. It's sitting on Heckman Street. We have to make some connections down in Trenton to get it moved. Otherwise, we're going to be paying a bond back. I just didn't want you to forget that.
So let's do
That's something
this.
that can be done in the interim.
Let's do this. Tomorrow I have two meetings in Allentown at work. Can we do 4th of July?
Text me when you're ready.
Yeah, and we can do it?
Text me, I'll give you one.
That'll work?
I'll be away, but I'll drive up.
Okay. So tomorrow, I have a commitment, I don't want to cancel it.
Understood. You need to walk through, you need to see it.
You're a no?
I prolonged vacation 12 hours right now for my kid's birthday. Be here tonight, I'm leaving tonight.
I don't
I'll
think
be
they're
back Friday.
Let's get a survey.
I said I have staff who can
John?
assist. I have guys, I have people who could be there. It's not,
Lieutenant, I'm sorry.
we're all on the same page anyway.
Okay.
Lieutenant, you can be there.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what we'll
Could
do.
be.
Happy birthday to your son.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very appreciates it.
I'm sure he does. Okay.
Before we close this out, I want to go back to June 5th. I asked that we have a work session to try and work through some of this stuff. And we've still not scheduled anything. We have not, I think, unless we have everybody in the room, whether it's bond counsel, the CFO, Stan, we don't know what the right decision is completely when it comes to the money aspect of everything.
So we've gotten back, and I don't know, counsel, if you stop me if I'm starting to dive into waters that need to be in executive session. I don't believe anything's privileged with regard to what I'm about to say. We've received 3 different estimates for the permanent relocation, and they've all come under 600, that means 6 million. So they left a $400,000 contingency to get everybody back into the building. I did see your recommendations, but at that point in time, that's between yourself, the mayor, and Stan. We're simply funding it, okay?
And we understand that, but again, unless we pull everybody to the table, we're having a hard time. And I don't want to, Stan isn't here, but when we discussed this, one thing that was said was what we build out in the Armory, we were going to have in Corliss Avenue, and it's nothing like that. And the flow of it, I mean,
Right.
you can get the plan. I'm sure Stan sent you the plans.
Yeah.
It is only a
Okay.
30%.
So what we will do, I was just advised by council that we would probably have to do that in either like
That's
a
fine.
work session or an
But
executive
whatever.
session.
But if we schedule that out, I'd appreciate that too, so that we can resolve some of that stuff also. With everyone's input too, so we can get this right.
Including Stan.
So my input's easy, and I'll be there. That's not a problem. But we need to get them out. That means no Facebook posts, no crazy,
Let's get the waste,
Okay.
Let's get the waste out of the way. Let's get the waste.
no fighting, no arguing.
No fighting, no arguing. The goal
Hey,
is.
well, at least when it comes to the police department.
There you go.
All right.
We'll resume after it's over.
All right, because I don't want Mike coming to my house.
All
All right.
right. Okay.
Can I,
I mean, I don't know what to say because they've heard it all and nothing has gotten.
Let's get out of there. Let's
Okay.
get our feet on the ground.
Councilwoman, did you have something to say?
I did. You and I have talked about this, I'm gonna bring it up now, so we can just end this once and for all. A suggestion was made that we just create a citizens advisory, and we put this in the hands of people other than the politicians and all the stakeholders here. Perhaps we just get people from the community to come in and make these decisions who haven't been in the nitty-gritty. So take the money piece out of it. Let's just bring people in from the community. Since it's gone on long enough, there's nobody saying otherwise. It's been a long time. Maybe it's time we just
Right.
stop and put people that have no interest in front of it and let them have some feedback.
We're strictly talking right now about 2 separate issues, right? I believe we're talking about temporary relocation and then we're talking about a permanent relocation.
Yes,
So-
everything. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, ultimately.
This is permanent.
Right, well-
But no, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I'm on the same page.
I just want to make sure that they're out.
The point of your meeting with the mayor, John, and probably Travis,
Okay.
will be to look at these buildings, to figure out who, for this temporary relocation, how we could outfit possibly the Armory so that we could get over there right away, or somewhere else, wherever you decide to go. And the other part where I'm talking about meeting, I think that we have to meet as a whole about a permit. That's,
So I can only bring one other council member or two,
I don't know.
there can only be two council members in the room unless it's in an executive session,
Whatever.
because it would be a violation of the Open Public Meetings Act.
Right.
Okay. When are you available? I don't get into town until 4 o'clock.
I mean, I'm out until Friday. I won't be around.
So are you looking to do this next
I'm
week?
good anytime. I'll make time anytime, except for Mary Jo, what time do I have to be with you next week?
6 o'clock on the 10th,
No, we're busy
on
now.
the 9th, 6 o'clock on the 9th.
And what is it? So,
Monday's good.
if you're back in town at 4 o'clock, I can do anything at 4 o'clock. I know I have nothing.
Same here.
What are we busy at? Because I gotta be honest with you, at this point in time, unless it's
The
life-threatening.
police are highly involved in that project Monday night. So
Is that Monday night for Mary Jo?
Yes.
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday,
Tuesday?
it's next Tuesday.
So we can do
Well,
Monday.
except 4 o'clock, we can do any time.
Okay.
That's 6 o'clock at night, so it's not gonna interfere.
Monday at 4?
Yeah.
Monday at 4? Municipal building?
Go Fillmore or Corliss?
Do you want to go to Corliss?
We'll authorize you.
Listen, I don't have a problem walking through Corliss. I understand. You want to do
I mean, are
municipal?
we going out to look at places, or do you wanna sit down for a while?
So tomorrow, I know we're gonna go take a look,
All right.
Right.
all right? Monday, let's schedule it for the municipal building, and if something comes up in the meantime, where there are other buildings to look at,
They have a conference room that we can use, so it's easier. They're at
okay. Yeah, that's perfect. If the building comes up, I can call either one of you or email you. Yeah? Okay. All right,
Thank you.
you're welcome, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Resolution 2019-102, resolution of the Town of Phillipsburg, County of Warren, State of New Jersey, authorizing the application for aid from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs.
So moved.
Is there a second? There's actually a second.
Second.
Okay, so now we're up for discussion.
I'm sorry, which one did we start with?
This is now the NDP grant, the resolution of the Town of Phillipsburg, County of Warren, State of New Jersey, authorizing the application from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs.
And just as first note, I know that the mayor has a lot to present. I think we need to adjust that title.
Yes. Would you like to?
What is the 4A? What, the 4A grant?
That would be correct.
Okay.
Amended to state application for a grant from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we're going to open this up to the floor. Councilman Lutz, did you have any comments?
Yeah, the information that I got the last couple of days, was thrown at us, I thought it was inadequate. It doesn't show what it's actually going to do, and at this time, I'm going to say no on that.
Councilman Davis.
Yeah, well, before I provide my own comments, I was hoping we could open the floor to the mayor to provide his input on the documentation he's provided, so then if there's additional questions we have, they can perhaps be answered by his comments.
Excellent. Councilman?
I concur with Councilman Davis. I'll hold my questions until we let the mayor present.
Council Vice President.
By point of order, are we going to allow the mayor to speak and then circle back with, starting with Councilman Davis or Councilman Lewis to come back to questioning?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if that's the case, I'll defer to the mayor.
Sure.
Mayor, the floor is yours.
Okay, we've been receiving a Highlands Coalition grant for the economic development of our downtown. That included the riverfront redevelopment, its impact upon our economic development. It was a charrette, as you know, which involved the public. The council finally passed that riverside redevelopment. The we are in a planning area of the Highlands. There's conservation areas and there's planning areas. The Highlands Commission is very interested in Phillipsburg because of the river, the resources, the historic resources such as Greens Bridge, the Morris Canal, the Ice House, and even the Agway. They have given us $66,000 several months ago. I had explained this, Councilwoman DiGirolamo had a couple questions. Well, how did that get approved? That had been approved in 2019 under ordinance as the riverfront redevelopment when the zoning was put in. If you recall, we changed some of the zoning for LMR. Otherwise, that it was revised year after year after year. It's a major project. Its purpose is to bring that wealth from the greater Lehigh Valley across the bridge, sort of like a New Hope and Lambertville model. And this year, the Highlands Commission was so pleased with the work that Angela Knowles did and Stan Trek. They awarded us $66,000 more for the implementation of that economic development plan. And that, of course, would include surveys on the street. Why are you in Phillipsburg? What are you looking for? What type of retail? What type of recreation? And the implementation of that. The professional or the consultant that works for Van Cleef has a list of over 1,000 retailers that provide different products to different people. And they were going to match them up with the survey and then go out and knock on those retailers' doors to bring them into Phillipsburg. While we were at that meeting with Angela Knowles, Sam Capella, and myself, and I believe Mike Textoris was there, the JSP group, I believe, Joe Getz, who wrote the economic development plan.
For clarification, JGSC.
JGS, thank you. Knew of a SAGE grant from DCA that would provide $125,000 the first year, $100,000 for 4 years thereafter, for a total of $525,000. He agreed to write the grant pro bono. We had 2 weeks to get it in. According to Sam, he had sent down to the clerk's office a request for a resolution. I am not saying that happened or it didn't happen. The fact of the matter was, we contacted the council on June 21st and said we have a problem. We need a resolution by DCA. And DCA, of course, was caught up in the New Jersey State budget crunch between the Senate and the governor. And OEM, Office of Management and Budget, had swiped all the tills. I've seen it happen for 35 years. They closed non-essential departments and so forth and so on until the budget settled. So we got a call from the Department of Community Affairs saying, you either get us the resolution or you're losing the budget, or you're losing the money, the $500,000. Now that would, of course, that would be, how can I say, a chink in the armor to the mayor's office. However, when you look at it, it's the residents that would hurt. To lose $500,000 plus for them, and I'm going to stop there and answer Mr. Lutz's question. The grant is for neighborhood preservation. Valley View did it. I think you were here. Lynn Harrison managed the program. There's a sign as you go in Valley View, neighborhood preservation. And what it's for is for facades, sidewalks, curbs, trees, windows, roofs, anything that would preserve the neighborhood to its originally historic look. And we do have an historic commission downtown, but this, as I spoke with Councilwoman DiGirolamo, would be mostly up towards the Purcell Hill area. Well, you couldn't pick a better area with Bridgepoint construction coming in and the possibility of 500 jobs in the first hire. I've been involved in some of the discussions with the buyers, and it was a perfect fit, excuse me, Council President, for this Highlands Commission grant. It just fit perfectly. The improvement of the homes, sidewalks, the aesthetics, etc. So we went into high gear. We sent downstairs to Vicki, and I'm sure there were, as you all know, there were many communications back and forth. I tried to give you the best I could on the justification of how we got where we got, and then, of course, we're at your mercy for the resolution. Over the weekend, I spent a lot of time on the phone with public officials and leadership, the governor's office, and they were able to secure the money, even though there's a budget battle in Trenton. The money is there as we sit here and stand here today. If you pass the resolution for the neighborhood preservation grant, the town will be $525,000 richer tomorrow. I will guarantee you this: there will be an open forum where every councilman will have his chance to decide where the grant will go, to which house it would go, and it would be a completely open process, not run by the mayor's office. So I ask of you all to consider passing this resolution, accepting the $525,000, and from there we act as a team. Thank you.
Who is the coordinator, may I ask?
The coordinator would be Angela Knowles and the Joe Getz. Joe Getz would be doing this survey, who would bring in the retailers that the customers were looking for. Now, Joe isn't just doing it on South Main Street, because as we all know, there's no one on South Main Street. Joe is going to cross the river, and he's going to ask Easton residents, what would you like to see in Phillipsburg? What would bring you across that bridge? And of course, you want to talk to Joe Getz, he's all yours. He's all yours as a council, or he's all yours as a committee.
I'm just wondering who gets the $25,000 for the salary, for the coordinator.
The administrative fees would, I believe, both go to Van Cleef Engineering and Joe Getz. Every, Councilman Lutz, every grant that we have procured through Van Cleef Engineering, they do take an administrative fee. Yeah.
Who's on the board?
Well, the board would be created once the grant is secured. You'll all have a say in that, of course. I don't get to pick the board.
Well,
Each neighborhood, my recommendation, excuse me, my recommendation would be each neighborhood to have a board member.
But that doesn't say it in here, though. What you're saying to us right now.
No, but I bet that this council could write an
I
ordinance.
would want this in writing before anything.
If I have to leave here tonight and ask for writing, the grant's gone, I'm sorry. We stand at this turning point. If I would have known that, I would have endeavored to get you a piece of paper to do that. We stand at a turning point. It's right now you have to vote for.
You did read this though, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Councilman Lutz, do you have anything else?
No, that'd be all, thank you.
Councilman Davis.
Yeah, the only thing I noticed, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, it says at one point in the application that we don't have a housing code and another that we do. Is that going to impact our application?
We do have a housing code, as you know.
Yeah.
It does not impact the application. The only thing that would impact the application was, as I just heard, would there be a committee, they would make the decisions on can you use vinyl siding versus clapboard as it was built. Those types of things would be decided by a committee. You know, we're not going to put a vinyl house in with Victorian and Purcell Hill or some other location.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
I mean, SHPO might be involved for all I know. SHPO might walk in and say, this house has potential to be on the National State Register. I'm not sure of those details.
Council,
We grasped this grant as it came before us.
Councilwoman?
It is an exciting opportunity. And as you see by all this paper here, I've spent a lot of time researching it. Because as you know, I'm the one that called DCA because we saw on Facebook that we got this wonderful grant that we all knew nothing about. So I called and made an Uber request. And then I was accused of being the reason that it was going to tank.
I stuck up for you.
Well, that's nice, because I have the voice recording from DCA saying the exact opposite. But what you're saying, I would have been in agreement with, but that's not what this documentation says at all. This documentation says in it, the expenditure of funds pursuant to the terms of the agreement between Town of Phillipsburg and DCA. That statement says we're not changing anything that's written in this program that's put together in this grant application. That's what that says. Now, I made a lot of notes, but I decided it's easier to boil it down. I agree with what you said. For those that maybe didn't see the map, because I took the time to do it, it is the Purcell Hill area. Despite all the documentation talking about the downtown and Chappelle Park and Union Square. There was also a section on here, and this goes up through the Housing Authority, Center Street, Walters Park, the Ice House area, Lock Street. One thing that could have been done, I saw two things in here. It all is soft costs. 25,000 is soft costs, that's salaries. 100,000 soft costs, studies, redevelopment. Now I sat on the urban enterprise zone when this was all done. A lot of this documentation is done already, where it talks about walking surveys, traffic studies, blah, blah. It's all done. It's done. I'd be happier. There was a survey in here and it wasn't completed as part of this grant application. This can be used for roads, parks, money that was previously allocated by prior council to be used on things like recreation fields. Can be used, this money can be used on recreation fields. It can be used on recreation centers. Nothing in this grant application talks about that. It's all about the downtown, Union Square, and Chappelle Park, which is not part of this application or this map. It all talks about economic development, not improving the community of the people that live in Purcell Hill. That's the biggest issue I see. You're saying we have time to change. That's not what this grant application, that's not what this resolution is telling us. If we had that opportunity to put this all together and benefit the people in Purcell Hill, I'd be like absolutely and very excited for this opportunity. But here's where I stand and what I've been told. Here's their biggest concerns. The parks need to be repaired. And I've said on the record, I am not approving anything until we fix those ball fields.
$100,000 in space sits there.
Well,
$500,000
$142,000.
sits there in
142
capital money.
in capital, yeah. People don't want to smell the sewer plant anymore. This could have gone to infrastructure improvements, and it's not. Again, it's going to soft costs. Safe roads and walkways, expanded recreation. You know, one concern is people are concerned there's going to be a thoroughfare coming down Center Street with the trucks going through the I-78 park. People have true concerns about the traffic coming through there.
They can't do that.
Well, that was part of this grant application. We didn't put this together. This is what was put in front of us. And again, I just don't know that we need a consultant to tell us what we already know about the community we live in.
Pardon me, Councilman. Would you read the first or the last description on the first page?
Of which page of paper?
First page of the grant.
Of the grant application?
Yes, please.
Briefly describe the project.
Yes.
To revitalize the neighborhood clustered in and around the district of Union Square, South Main Street, Chappelle Square, and Center Street by restoring residential and commercial properties and businesses, creating more effective public spaces and enhancing safety.
I have no more to say.
Well, I'm reading Union Square, South Main Street, Chappelle Square, and Center Street.
Danielle, I think you know if we're working.
Mayor,
Sorry, what did I do?
well, you addressed her by her name, and I know what we're getting at. I know that you're upset.
Councilwoman DeGrom.
Thank you.
You know that we can work with a group of state employees to put the money where it is needed. And there's no one that's gonna fight that. I don't know how many grants you worked with the state of New Jersey, but I worked with many. I mean, I'll take something simple as a National Recreational Trails grant. It might have started out as a trail through a wetland or a trail through protected habitat, of natural lands management, and it ended up a spur off the Appalachian Trail because of obstacles, natural resource obstacles. It is our job to steer this grant in the right place. I mean, we cannot, who knows this town better than us? We don't let outsiders tell us where to go. We know what the resources are, the Morris Canal, the Greens Bridge, the Delaware River. We know where to put the money. And if we have to fight the fight, we will. If the grantors decide that, no, you go by what we say, you're gonna use it for this or that, goodbye grant, if it's gonna hurt the town in any way, shape, or form. This grant can only benefit us. I can't imagine taking away $500,000 from residents. It's not me, it's not you, it's not the council president or anyone else that gains from this money, it's the residents. If you wish to let it go, I'm helpless.
Councilwoman.
So, being the funds are still there, can we rewrite this to what we think it should be and resubmit it? I have an issue submitting something that we don't agree with and putting my name on it, frankly.
Well, there you go, you vote no. I'm okay with it. I'm not okay with it, trust me. I'm not okay with it, but I have no, I have no,
Well, I clearly stated I would be good with it if I knew the money was going to take some vacant properties in Purcell Hill and convert them to a single-family home so somebody could build a home and make a life for
there are
themselves.
jobs coming to Purcell Hill beyond your wildest imagination. And there will be opportunities to redo those 700 or 500 vacant abandoned homes.
Sure.
Purcell Hill left with Ingersoll Rand.
Which is why I want to make sure the money stays
You are not
there.
going to get pushback from DCA neighborhood preservation programs. You are not. That grant is meant for what your desires are, for what every council person here's desires are, for the greater good of the town of Phillipsburg. And if there is, Councilwoman, if there is debate, I'm sure we can reach out to leadership, your leadership of the senators and the assemblyman, and my leadership to have the job done right.
So what does that take, rewriting it?
I wouldn't think so. Well, you do know about the budget battle in Trenton. Senator Sweeney faces Governor Phil Murphy, excuse
Did
me.
you just give?
He's being promoted.
Yes.
But I will tell you this, that they have bigger fish to fry. And this grant was put aside, was saved for the town of Phillipsburg. Again, I sound like a broken record. Second poorest town in the greater Lehigh Valley and 16th in the state. We qualify for just about everything. He did ask me a question after you called, and I want to explain that. He said, is there trouble in Phillipsburg? Because there was a grant written back when Melissa Ellis was here, which I will admit was a mistake of hiring her. She wrote a something cities grant, Councilman Davis.
CDBG?
Yeah, I believe that's what funded the Heckman Street improvements, or partially.
small cities.
Yeah,
CDBG.
right,
CDBG.
right. And she had a hard time with that. And they asked me, and I said, well, I'm sure there's problems with every town. I said, but we can get through grants, because I didn't want to give them the idea that we are, how can I say it, what they call in the grant world, poor performance. With that being said, there will be many other grants coming our way if we capitalize on the grants we have, if we can perform. And there's always tweaking. There always is tweaking. Some things just don't fit with a grant. So I ask your consideration. Let us proceed with this and build on it. Ingersoll is going to be the rebirth of Purcell Hill and Valley View. There's no doubt in my mind people will come when they find out that Phillipsburg has good jobs to offer. In December of 2019, the million square foot building will open, and the 500 million square foot building will open behind Valley View. We need to be ready.
Anything else, Council?
No, I think, no.
Council Vice President? I just caution the both of you, I don't want another exchange as we had last time.
No desire.
There shouldn't be an exchange. I only have comments. I don't have questions. You said 2 weeks. It's 14 days, 336 hours. Not one of those hours did you spend contacting the council president to let us know that you were in the process of this grant, but you had time to put it on Facebook. That's one. 2, Purcell Hill. We ran on every neighborhood being fixed in this town. But I will tell you, pound for pound, the most degraded neighborhood from start to finish, from the 70s to now, whatever, is, in your words, the Hill. The Hill area. That entire area needs some help. Purcell Hill is doing okay. That wasn't even in consideration. 3, during a series of emails, in which my new nickname is Mr. Perfection. If you want to open that, anyone, that is July 1st, 2019. And I didn't really appreciate our town clerk once again getting blamed for something that was turned in without us knowing anything about, and then having it kind of just pushed down our throats. I just don't like the town clerk getting shot at all the time. Just don't. Again, Oprah, you'll figure it out. I'm not going to belabor it. 4,
Excuse me, Councilman.
I didn't ask a single question. I'm just commenting.
I'm not going to be the subject of your shooting range.
I didn't say who took shots at her. I'm not allowed to do that. I'm allowed to say if you did
I'm
it.
not going to be the subject of your shooting range and your shooting gallery.
Okay, I'm going to continue to
Thank you,
comment.
thank you,
All right.
Council President.
You should face what I have to say, okay? Because you didn't even face Council President. JGSE, do a Google on that.
Mayor,
Wow.
Mayor,
JGSE, do a Google on that, all right? 5.5, you said the trail grants. You mentioned that you were in charge of grants yourself.
Mayor, are you leaving the meeting? Mayor,
I asked the hard questions,
Not-
and you leave.
You are not going to take my dignity as you have.
I'm making comments. I have
Mr.
questions.
You are not going to do
All
what
right.
you have done. End of story.
Mayor, I have questions.
That's how much he cares about the county.
Folks,
Oh, my God.
I'm going to continue my comments. I have no questions for the mayor, nor I didn't have a single question for the mayor. If it's okay, Council President, I'd like to continue because it does shed light to the public, and this is being filmed, and people in the audience deserve some continued comments with your permission.
Excuse me for 1 second. You go ahead.
Okay. The trail grants, he mentioned that he put together trails, okay? Then he understands the importance of timelines, okay? He understands the importance of timelines in getting this in. When I was a young man in 2011, just like the mayor said, I found $250,000 offered by the Department of Transportation, but I had to come up with an idea in order to take it. But I only had 2 weeks to do it. I was young in rank at the time. I brought it to the attention of my supervisors, and they just said to me, You come up with an idea and you got 2 weeks. I kept them informed of everything what I had to do. I was a young man at the time and I was very nervous because that was a lot of money. Actually more money than this, and quite about 10 years ago. The idea that I came up with, along with my team, was to take the unmarked cars that were being turned in over 150,000 miles, get them painted at a cheap cost, and make them stealth cars, and create what now is the Pound 77 Aggressive Driver Program, the Aggressive Driver Program. I started with 7 cars and I pitched that idea to now the Department of Transportation head, Diane Sacchetti, and they granted it to the state police. So instead of trashing those cars, that's what we did. But I was a nervous wreck, because I was told, this is your deadline, if you don't got it, if you don't have it, it's on you. There was a deadline faced here, and I understand that. And I understand the pressures that the mayor was involved in. But at no point in time was it ever conveyed to this council. Ever. I want to thank the councilwoman for doing her due diligence, because if it wasn't her shedding light onto this and then starting to open up this flower petal a little bit, we wouldn't have really understand what we really had here. It's nice to thank her, instead of her being mocked or disrespected here today. I don't take kindly to that. She did her due diligence, and she should be thanked. The mayor did say, your leadership and my leadership. I like to think that it's our leadership, regardless of Democrat or Republican. It's our leadership. He's creating, delineating lines, segregation lines between parties, and I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to mention names, but I contacted our, as I mentioned before, our U.S. Representative, Malinowski, and his office regarding the redevelopment Councilman Lutz and I are working on regarding the causeway and the eastway, down at the North Main Street. And I was treated very nice. And I look forward to a lunch, in his words, the municipal liaison to the state, either in Phillipsburg or in Newark, my work. He's looking forward to have lunch with me. So I really don't appreciate your leadership or my leadership. It's causing segregation, and I think it's terrible. And lastly, I just want to say, it is very easy to say, this money's going to hurt the people of Phillipsburg. Of course it is. Of course it is. But we're being asked, folks, not to approve this money. We're being asked to put a cover resolution that we approve the application process of this grant, which has already been completed. Because we have a leader, an elected official of this town, who chooses to sit home on our council meetings instead of talking to us, chooses to put council president on block, not to take his calls or text messages, only when he wants something at election time. There is a lot of grants out there to be applied for, and in the future we'll have them. But quite honestly, the toothpaste is out of the tube on this. And for the integrity of my person and my soul, there's no way in hell I can vote for this. Thank you, Council President.
You're welcome. I tried to ask the mayor to come back in. He refused. I will place my questions on the record. It's unfortunate because I thought we actually had a pretty good chance of rewriting, at least coming to an agreement. The problem I have is with the resolution writing in its truest form right now, where it says that it's a resolution for the town of Phillipsburg, the county of Orange, state of New Jersey, authorizing the application, the keyword being application. Now, the mayor did state that he didn't have time. I disagree. I wish he was here. but I can't authorize, I'm with Councilwoman DiGirolamo, it's hard for me to authorize an application that's already been filled out and completed. Furthermore, in the resolution, he states that council would be able to work with and form a planning board or a planning committee to decide how this is spent, but it does say in this language, be it further resolved, the council recognizes and accepts that the department may offer a lesser or greater amount, and therefore, upon receipt of the grant agreement from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, does further authorize the execution of any such grant agreement, and also, upon receipt of the fully executed agreement from the department, does further authorize the expenditure of funds pursuant to the terms of the agreement between the town of Phillipsburg and the Department of Community Affairs. That agreement, to my understanding, is the application, which means if we were to vote in the affirmation of this resolution, we have to adhere, we get no say because of what is written here on the application. It's a hard pill for me to swallow. The only thing that he did say when he left, I wanted to ask him who was on the committee, and I can tell you he didn't tell us here, but there are a few things. Let me just page through this, and this may all be for naught because I really was hoping that he would have stayed. I apologize for not being one put together. Under the municipal area profile, it says, under number 6, identify the sources from which the municipality will contribute toward the salary and fringe benefits of the municipal NPP coordinator. He had told us that the NPP coordinator was to be the gentleman by the name of Joe Getz.
I believe he said Andrew Knowles.
Angela Knowles. Well, he did say both, Councilman. But under number 6, it says Phillipsburg will derive these funds from the salary line of Samuel Capello, the Human Resources Clerk in the administration. So I had reached out to Bob Merlo, the CFO, and he had stated that the $25,000 would in fact come from the grant, go into this line item, and then be paid out. I believe the way this is written, it is telling me that the NPP coordinator, and he's not here right now to, again, state yay or nay, that the NPP coordinator is in fact Sam Capello, which could also cause an issue with regard to the unions. Furthermore, we get to the partnership stakeholders, list any names of local businesses, lending institutions, community organizations, residents, municipal officials, and/or stakeholders who have agreed to serve on the NPP Planning Committee. This means that the NPP Planning Committee, according to this application, has already been formed. So he said to us while he was at the dais that we would have an opportunity to form the NPP Planning Committee, but it's already formed. And again, it's Joe Getz, Mark Lobauer, Angela Knowles, Stan Schreck, New Jersey Highlands Council, Expertise, Phillipsburg, New Jersey, the New Jersey Urban Enterprise Zone, Mayor Ellis, Samuel Capello, Pat Dragata, Carol D., Doc Kays, and William Slack. They're the planning committee. We didn't have a say in that. I have an issue with that. This was done without coming to us, and I don't believe that we were ever to see these documents. I also don't believe that these documents were delivered to Vicky as is written here, because the normal standard procedure since I have been in office, the mayor's office, by Sam normally, would send me all of the mayor's requests for the resolutions for the agenda, and he would do so either the Wednesday or the Friday before. Never once did they ever walk it down to Vicky's office, as was stated in the email to Vicky of why we did not have this. I believe that story is fabricated. And it's unfortunate that no one is here to answer that question. Lastly, the map that denotes the areas suffering from neglect. we've all looked at this map, yes?
Yes.
We're all familiar with the document. Echoing the sentiment of Councilman McVeigh, the Hill area is a war zone. And I say that, I grew up in the Hill area. It's not the same area that I grew up in, okay? I live on Purcell Hill. I travel to Purcell Hill every day, and I can tell you that we're really not in need of neighborhood preservation. If everyone is truly, really in need of neighborhood preservation, it is the downtown area and the Hill area. Another issue that I have is that it says it can be used for residential, and I point to you this area right here at the corner of Center, and it appears to be Warren and Cahill. I Google mapped that. We know whose residence the property that is by? His former confidential aide. That's Mrs. Corcoran's property.
Wow.
No, I'm saying this because this is what is hard for me to pass, because I don't know why we weren't shown this. Everything to me is suspect. I would like to go back. I would like to rewrite it. I'd like to call the DCA myself. We would be losing $125,000 if we say no, but in essence, the truth is, I'm not sure where that $125,000 is going if we do pass this. It's not going to, I can't tell you where it's going, because we don't have to say. Only the individuals that I had listed out right here have an opportunity to tell you where it's going.
Point of information to
Yes, sir.
Counselor. Counselor, even if we receive this grant in terms of the application, it's my understanding that we still have the final say in terms of budget allocation where funds are set. Is that correct?
You know, I would have to check that on that, Councilman. My understanding is once you appoint that board, the committee under the grant, the authority is basically delegated to them, but I don't have the answer to that question 100%. I'd have to take a look at the statutory authority, but from what I could, and by the way, I haven't had a chance to even look at the application or anything like that.
Thank you.
Or the statutory framework, but that would be my understanding. That's what it seems to suggest. I'm not going to unpack this right now. But I am not sure of the answer to your question, unfortunately, as I sit here.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilman Davis, just so you know, I did reach out to Council Wenner when I had first seen this, and he did state that if we do pass this grant, we are subject to the terms and conditions listed out in the application, and we are actually giving them carte blanche.
My knee-jerk reaction
Yeah.
without having to look at it.
So would this be a separate entity similar to the EBZ where they have the money is allocated directly to them? Is that the
Yes.
understanding?
Yes, it would be the MVP. They have their own planning committee, which was established here.
Yeah, but just to play devil's advocate, regardless of what's in the application, they are still going to be allocating the funds, pretty much independent of our oversight once the grant's been set.
Right, but we would have had input had they have come to us when they first applied.
I understand. I'm trying to boil it down to what ultimately, is it worth it to walk away from $125,000 because we disagree with some facets of it when at the end of the day, once we receive the grant funds, council will have no oversight over the project.
So, I have a two-pronged answer, and I agree with you. I had every intention on hashing this out this evening, but the mayor is the one that walked away.
Well, I understand. And as far as neighborhoods in need of redevelopment, I can tell you, while we can argue about which specific neighborhoods are the most depleted, at the end of the day, every single census tract in the town of Phillipsburg is below the median income for the rest of the area. And I know that because I've been looking at Community Reinvestment Act mortgage programs, and literally, we're the only town that has any of these, and it is the entirety of our town that suffers from the majority of our citizens being below the median income for the comparable area. So, like I said, I think that while we might disagree about where the best impact could be felt, walk away from such a sizable sum of money because we are in disagreement over the best allocation is probably not in the best interest of our citizens.
Would you entertain tabling it
I'm,
until we could perhaps have, authorizing the acceptance rather than the application? It's hard for me to put my name on something where this grant, this is untrue. The resolution's untrue. The state accidentally awarded the money prior to having the resolution.
Had I not Oprah requested it, it probably would have went through. I
Right.
think they said, oops, something's missing.
I don't want to walk away either, Councilman. I really don't.
None of us do, but
I mean, like I said, I agree that the Hill is probably the place that would have been a better allocation for these funds. I don't want to walk away from it just because of that, though, so.
No, and I think it's more, and I'm sorry, that's just one of my points. The other points are, there are some issues. It's true. It's true. I would simply, the mayor's not here to answer any of my questions. I just want to know what thought process went into the application. Again, JGSC was here July 11th, 2017, doing the same thing that I'm being told is going to happen right now, yet they're going to be paid. They were paid in 2017, and now we're getting a grant where some of those funds are going to pay them again to do the same work. Let me give this to Councilman Davis so he can see the letter I'm referring to.
here's the work. You
I
want to
think
say
if
it?
he would have taken it back, taken the ordinance back, rewritten it, stating that we would be involved and have the final say, it would be a different story. But until then, like I said, I don't think we should pass this. And I'm sorry, it's $500,000 that it could go in, but we also know that the other redevelopment went sour too.
Yeah, right.
Over the years. It was money that was not spent right. It was money that was given away. It was just a big, how can I say, hullabaloo. That's the word I can think of, but I don't want to get into something like that again. And the only people that had the rights, I think, were the coordinator and the mayor. The council didn't have any involvement, and this would have been a good chance for us to be involved with it, to say where the money went and where does it go. It gets a better understanding, and that's how I feel personally.
What it boils down to is that our government currently is dysfunctional. Our council and our mayor don't see eye to eye, we don't get
I
along.
think we should table it.
Are we going to lose the money if we table it?
So
Councilman, I can't answer that question. I don't know.
That's what's been conveyed to us, is it not?
the statement I
He
have.
said that, but he also said that we didn't have an MPP planning committee, and we do.
The statement I had from GCA was this was actually 2018 funds, and due to the end of the calendar, that's why it ended. You can actually reapply for this every year. Just because you're awarded the first year, the money could disappear next year. There's no guarantee you're going to get it 4 years. What I can say is Phillipsburg and Washington are the only two towns in Warren County that are even eligible.
So if we table it, we
Well,
can...
tabling it still means you would accept the application as it is.
Well, currently, until we can reach out to DCA and find out whether or not we can amend the application or amend the resolution, the language of the resolution. If we can amend the language of the resolution, I'm okay with it. And I would call an emergency meeting before the end of this week to get it done so our town doesn't miss out on this money. I have a hard time accepting the fact that if by tomorrow at noon they're going to say, well, you tabled it, but you're going to hold an emergency meeting on Friday, you're just not getting the money. I just don't buy it. I want to be able to have the opportunity to put my name on something that A, makes sense, and B, will help the citizens of Phillipsburg.
So I would be amenable to tabling it with scheduling a meeting emergency meeting for Friday.
Sure.
I think next Tuesday would be good,
Well, but
Wednesday.
if Councilman Davis wants to do Friday, I'm okay with Friday.
I'd have to dial in because I'll be out of town, but I'm glad to do that if,
You can dial in on emergency meetings, which is
yeah.
perfectly legal, I think anyway, council. He says yes.
My only comment would be my Oprah request was delayed, and the state advised me it'll be back Monday for
But we,
redactions. So I'd just like to know what we have is complete.
all
I
right,
still feel like there's something we don't know.
but if we don't make the effort, we lose it. So I think that,
I agree.
I think Friday's okay, maybe we could put a rush on them. I mean, again, state, if they can give it to you Monday, they should be able to give it to you Friday.
Council President,
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't have enough advertising on.
We need,
48 hours.
because of the holiday.
Well, that is a problem, but I need, it takes 2 days to get it there, 2 days for public notice.
Can we do it on Monday?
I won't know until I get a hold of them tomorrow,
Okay.
honestly.
Tentatively, Monday or Tuesday? Tuesday at the latest, Councilman?
Sure.
Would you be open to that?
Yeah, maybe we, just as an action, we can pass a resolution stating we'll schedule it at the earliest time as possible if the DCA advises that we can still process the application.
Absolutely, sure. 110%. I'm on board with that. Man,
Yeah, but Bobby, the whole thing has to be rewritten.
I understand, but I mean, we're walking away from a lot. I'm not in disagreement. I'm not. But we need to be able to come to some, and I think this gives us the time to call the state, try and work out some type of deal. If the money's there, the mayor can reach out to his people, we can reach out to our people. I'm sure they're gonna be able to get along somewhere. It's not like it's Senator Sweeney and Governor Murphy.
Who's gonna rewrite it?
Well, that would be, I'm gonna see the mayor tomorrow. We left on good terms right now. We did leave on good terms. He's upset with Council Vice President, but he left. I was hoping that he would come back in, but it would give us an opportunity to, it would give us an opportunity to right the wrongs, straighten it out, and still somehow save this grant. That's all I'm asking.
That being said, I'll make a motion to postpone until the DCA advises on the ability to amend the application and such date that the meeting is convened to address this issue.
I'll
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman DeGirolamo?
Yes.
Council Phillips?
Yes.
Council Vice President McVeigh?
No.
Council President Holbrook?
Yes. Resolution 2019-102 is successfully tabled. Vicki, just let us know when we can have the meeting, and we'll do our part and reach out to DCA tomorrow. And I'm hopeful that our continued discussions with the mayor will be, everything will work itself out.
I would caution that there would be a special meeting, not an emergency meeting.
Thank you.
Correct.
Okay. Special.